In real life, society values children as a resource on whom a nation relies for its continuity. Children are a product of the family, both functional and non-functional. In every community, children bring joy to the father and mother, and in Africa, to the extended family system. But all this joy has been affected by lack of societal welfare, hunger, poverty, war, insurgency, and domestic violence. The family is no longer stable. Everyone is on their own. Society values and norms have been broken down. Husbands have abandoned their families. The women are on their own. The children have become destitute. In Uganda, this situation has become common in Karamojong region, especially Napak district.
In 2007, one of the issues which we grappled with, in addition to pacification, that is disarmament, was the rural-urban migration of the children. Here, the situation which I found in Napak, especially in 3 sub-counties of Lokopo, Lopei, and Matany, is that there is unwarranted movement of mothers and young children. Even some of these young children who accompany these mothers do not belong to these mothers. They are hired, borrowed, to be taken on the streets of Kampala, for example, arrayed along the street to attract alms from bypassers. The money is then grabbed, taken away by these elders, exposing the young children.
Indeed, it is true. This issue is historical. This is something that happened sometime way back. It's an historical factor. Way back in the late 70s and 80s, the community had experienced a drought, famine. We lost many lives. We lost livestock to our neighbors. And indeed, that warranted the people to find a way of survival, and people became vulnerable. They left across to the neighborhood. Others went to Masindi, Mbale, Soroti, Jinja, Busia. By then, they had not reached Kampala. And there are many factors now, the pushing and pulling factors, which again escalated of recent.
The Karamojong men, mothers, and their children are now on the street looking for a livelihood. Over 1.5 million children are on the streets of Uganda's major towns of Mbale, Soroti, Tororo, Busia, Jinja, and Kampala, begging. These arrive after a plan to get an income. Others are brought by child traffickers through different points.
Hakuna kitu ya nini nyesa, hakuna wanatia chakula yao chini. Sasa mchana kuzani satawa.
The city has been changing over time, and of course change comes, but there are also challenges that we continue to grapple with. One of them is the issue of children on the streets, and it is a challenge in that we do not have facilities on the streets to support life on the street for children. Besides that, Kampala is highly motorable, with a lot of motor vehicle traffic, and statistics indicate that over 60% of motor vehicles in Uganda actually use Kampala roads, which means it puts the lives of these young children at a very high risk.
Specifically on those children that go out, who are trafficked, or those ones who go out unaccompanied, we use interceptions. CAPU and police in general, they are in Everett Abu County, in Napak. And we try to put other measures of interception in the outlets. Those are routes that are going out of Napak. Then when we intercept those children, with either perpetrators that are moving with them, we charge them.
In Uganda, the child policy provides for every child to live in a clean and safe environment. However, the women ferry children through child traffickers and in turn place them on the streets to beg for their survival. But it is illegal to engage minors in soliciting for money.
But all in all, we want these children off the streets. It is that nobody should give money to these street children. They have families, they have a belonging, they should go and be raised by their families. They shouldn't be in the streets. And whoever gives money to these streets is the one who is perpetuating the problem.
In Kampala city alone, there are an estimated 2,000 Karamojong, including children. They are based in two areas of Kisenyi 2 zone and Katwikinyoro. Michael Lokan is a Karamojong child aged 10 years. He also goes to Katwe Primary School.
Mama utafuma umusente umavera murado neta tusenjala tasisenjala neta tayamba ko mama wangu mama asawa gena mutaunasa nicha sente za mmere.
This is how they survive. Statistics show that the biggest number of street children is from Karamoja sub-region.
Berajo yetulimu ano sinunji. Ngabolaba tulina abantu basoma, tulina abantu tibayina bali basola bubi balya bubi balonda bulunze ebyokulya. Kubya abaana tugezaako nnyo yale kitulwanyisa ffe ate kisaba the government n'ebitongole ebisinga nti kale wadde ngafa abakulu tumizinze buli kitu naye twagala tuyambe bana abaana abato tufune ba sponsor.
Kampala Capital City Authority KCCA hosts the Karamojong women and children. The authority wants them out so as to decongest the streets and make the city clean. It has also passed an ordinance to send these persons off the streets of Kampala.
There is a law in place which enables us to prosecute the adult offenders, the people that actually bring these children to the streets. We are also now working on an ordinance as the city administration to ensure that if you find also someone giving money to these children, that person can also be taken to court. So if this ordinance passes, it will also be an offense for anybody to give a street beggar money.
To come up with some of the bylaws that work to prevent these parents who really allow their children to come to streets in they look at it like a way of making ends meets for the family. When you send a child to the street and reaching some time, then that child would go back with something that can help to support the family. But the political wing were like, no, we will not encourage that. Actually, we will even arrest some of the parents.
If Napak was the only district in Karamoja would really say we have this problem. But now we have 7 districts in this region. Why are we contributing 80% of the street kids? As leaders, what we have been doing is we have been talking to our people. We all went as leaders of NAPAC, LCD chairpersons of the 7 sub-counties. We were in Kampala. We went to Kisenyi. We visited where these people reside. We talked to these communities. We talked to these girls. And it's majorly the girl child. And we told them, insecurity is no more. Famine, anger is there, but not only affecting us. So there's no reason why we should go and do scavenging in these towns, and yet we have the capacity even to produce for our families.
So, they have to go. Where should they go, and who is responsible? Their mothers and indeed their families need empowerment.
If we have these children begging on the streets, they are still begging because they are young. But when they become more conscious of themselves as adolescents, they feel embarrassed to beg. And because they have already gotten used to handling money, they cannot even come and work for it. Eventually, we shall be breeding future criminals.
For example, if they could only accept to leave the streets, then they can be supported when they are at school. And they continue to mentor them so that they grow into really a useful person in future.
Our role as government is to ensure that, one, we get them off the streets. Secondly, we rehabilitate them and then integrate them in the society. Kobling presently is just a school, a rehabilitation center. But we are planning to put up institutions such that once the children are in Kobling, there's a primary school, there's a secondary school, and then there is a vocational school. So that when somebody leaves that facility, that person is fully rehabilitated and has education.
6 organizations under the Karamojong Children at Risk project in Uganda are addressing the problem of Karamojong children on the street. With funding from the Netherlands Interchurch Organization for Development, ECO, Dwelling Places, Cooperation and Development, Katakwi Children's Voice, KCV, Kisenyi Youth Development Association, KAIDA, Pentecostal Assemblies of God with the Karamojong Integrated Development Program, PAG KIDEP, and Uganda Change Agent Association, UCCA, are implementing the project. They rescue, rehabilitate, resettle, reintegrate, and empower the returnees.
So each partner has got a role to play. And for us as UCA, we have our role is the role of a leader of the consortium. We are responsible for actually making sure that these people have meetings. We are also responsible for the capacity building of the partnership. We are also responsible for any activity that will involve bringing these people, the partners, together.
Children of school-going age are integrated in the school system. The women and youth are given livelihood skills for self-sustenance.
We teach them village savings and loans association skills. We teach them entrepreneur skills. The youth, we give them apprenticeship skills. And we encourage them to come up with own saving associations so that they generate their own money.
When the women and children enter the main towns, they locate in the slums where their children are exposed to many ills. At nightfall, they return to cook, eat, pay rent, and sleep. This is the survival instinct of the vulnerable Karamojong women and children. So, every member of the consortium has a role in the Karamojong Children at Risk project.
Under rescue, we carry out outreaches, whether during day or during night. Yeah, we visit the streets. We have counseling while on the streets, and we also have some assistance with the medical for those who are on the streets. Then under the rehabilitation, Basically, we provide the basic needs of the child.
Huyo ndiye naandika sisi. Mama na greka Lomuria Lomuria ndio naandika sisi. Nasema tuende hapa. Kaida. Ati watu ya nataka kusaidia nyinyi hapa. Ndio sisi nasita.
Dwelling Places has a module that we follow, and we call it a 4R module, where we rescue children, that's the first R, rehabilitate the children, that's the second, reconcile, and finally resettle. In rescuing, we go to the streets and we create rapport with the children. We go to the streets and we begin to invite the child off the street. And these children usually lead us to their parents, especially for the Karamojong community. And then when we reach their parents, we begin to share with the parents the challenges that the risks they're putting these children at by them being on the street.
That is when the consortium felt it imperative that the community should be educated on land rights, and also not only the communities but even the local leaders. So when we are brought in, definitely part of our detail is to train the district level and sub-county level leaders on land rights, and also functionalize the land, the area land committees, and also sensitize the communities on issues of land acquisition, utilization, ownership.
We have dwelling places. Their role in Kampala is to rescue, rehabilitate for 3 months. Then they send those children, after giving us all the names and what, for us to do the tracing. Once we finalize with the tracing and making sure that where these children actually came from, we have already ascertained where they are supposed to go. We request our partners in Kampala, which is Dwelling Places and Kaida, to send them to Katakwi Children's Voice and Cooperation Development.
We are doing more sensitization to the communities. We reach the communities and also give the counseling to the families, especially on our children who are on the list. For example, those children whom we have already resettled. What we do, we make the follow-ups to the families to help them understand the value of education.
Under this arrangement, many have been rescued, rehabilitated, repatriated, resettled, and reintegrated in society.
Time for lunar eclipse. Yes or no? Eclipse of the moon. That is if you never next time. So a solar system is a group.
We say it needs a concerted effort, visiting them, bringing them, providing them, and even I think sometimes even talking to the parents. There is a group which is it KCV. When sometimes they come, they call the parents also, and they talk to them. That is very good.
Then I decided to go to Kampala. Then from Kampala, those of Dwelling Places came and took me to Dwelling Places. Then they bring me back to Karamojong. They started supporting me. They said me, you go back to P6. Then I'll go back to P6 2015.
From Kampala, I just went to the street to look for something. From there, they just captured us. And they took us to Kapringsa. From Kapringsa, they brought us up to Karamojong, that organization called Dwelling Places. From there, they took us to Langalom. From Langalom, they started now distributing us to take to schools. They brought us here to Kakwat.
Some requests for those NGOs who are sponsoring these children. Like sometimes NGOs take long to respond to these children in form of scholastic materials and even basic needs like soap and sugar. So when such things happen, it provokes these children to opt back to the streets than be in class. So if at all they could frequently check on these children and provide them necessities. And then some of these very sponsored children who are street children, like we had a girl here, she was sponsored last year. But when it comes to holidays, she has nowhere to go.
Some would change. She has no any interest of going back there. Sailor, but she came to know how to make all types of products, all fashions. So what she's going to do with her business, she will just put it in the center there, in town. So even customer language, for attracting customers, she's supposed to make it nice, and even the prices, she can also negotiate with the customer.
Now when I'm here, at least I'm even able to take care of myself. And I'm even married when I came here. At least I can get up for my own self.
When they are repatriated, they are screened and grouped between those returning to school and skills training at Koblin Youth Skills Training Center before resettlement.
There are a group of children who are brought by the partnership of change agent, dwelling places, and C&D. Yes, some of those organizations. So they come under a separate arrangement, which of course they have discussed with the ministry and the district local government of Napak, and we have agreed that no child should transit through any other district, but they should ensure that they transit back to their community through Koblin.
There is another component that has been integrated in the reintegration process through music, dance and drama to pass information to communities and at the same time engage members to form groups for income generation.
Better to identify, even in conjunction with the community, to identify how far, what are the root causes, how to address the community, and how to address these challenges to support the government. We blame the government, but we also blame the communities for neglecting this.
This seems to be a success story. The children will go off the street. The women will return to Karamojong. But there are still challenges.
In Koblin, for instance, we train girls and young mothers into knitting skills. And then we give them some tools, some kits for knitting. And we give them a startup capital to buy knitting materials. We train young men into bricklaying skills. And then we give them tools.
There are only about 24 schools, primary schools, in the whole district of Napak. There are 22,800 children who are in these primary schools. There are only 4 secondary schools in the whole district. There are only 1,100 children,
as per this year's statistics that are in secondary school? Where are the 21,000 children going?